Hello, and a warm welcome also from my side. I'm Katja Butterweg, the Global Product Manager at ABB for our programming tools and user interfaces. When we started developing AppStudio, we had one clear goal in mind: to make robotic integration as intuitive and flexible as possible. Over the years, I've seen how challenging it can be to create custom HMIs and streamline workflows. Even experienced developers often need weeks or months for what should be straightforward. With AppStudio, we wanted to change that. Before Raul will dive into the details, I will give you a brief overview. So those are the top 3 important trends in our industry. Complexity of robotic integration. Imagine trying to assemble a piece of flat pack furniture without the instructions or an example, just a pile of parts and a vague sense of how it should look at the end. That's what robotic integration can feel like today. Overly complicated with too many steps for developers as well as operators. The industry is in need of user-friendly tools that simplify the complex task, enabling faster and more efficient solutions for both existing and new users. Demand for customization. Think about your smartphone. What's the first thing you do? Customize it. Add your favorite apps. Change the theme. Maybe set up shortcuts for your life hacks. Industries is also asking more and more for solutions that can tweak and personalize to fit their exact needs, not a one-size-fits-all. Scalability requirements. Picture a video game. You start on level 1, learning the basics. But as you get better, you also enable more and more complex possibilities. So alongside your projects, when they are getting bigger, when they're getting more challenging, you also want to level up. And these trends are exactly why AppStudio exists. It simplifies integration, adapts to your needs, and scales with you over time. So what is AppStudio in a nutshell? I hope most of you already download AppStudio and install it on your Windows PC. It's free, it's easy, and it's super scalable for experts as well. It's part of ABB's software trio and works seamlessly together with RobotStudio and our FlexPennant software. RobotStudio is a powerhouse for offline programming and simulation. FlexPennant puts the control directly in your hand on the shop floor. And AppStudio completes the picture as the ultimate developer tool for creating and customizing HMIs as well as sharing solutions. The AppStudio software is available in multiple languages as a Windows desktop version and can connect to the real and virtual controller. AppStudio works across all Omnicore-powered robots and cobots. So whether you're working on machine tending, pick and place, packaging, or even custom solutions, AppStudio supports them all. Those are the top 5 functionalities of AppStudio. Drag and drop interface. So you can create user interfaces effortlessly using drag and drop. Once built, you can easily configure the functionality of each element. Even if you've never written a line of code before, AppStudio lets you create functional interfaces in minutes. It's intuitive, visual, and fast. You can build professional-looking screens for your robot without worrying about the technical complexity underneath. Multiple screen sizes and multiple devices. Design screens that adapt seamlessly to FlexPennant smartphones, tablets, and PC. One tool for all platforms. If you want to know how to show a screen, for example, on a tablet, just look at the e-learnings directly linked in AppStudio. Effortless translation. Need your screens in multiple languages? So just add the translation and preview them in AppStudio. The language will automatically sync with the FlexPennant settings, keeping everything simple and efficient. Custom JavaScript for experts. If you're an experienced developer, AppStudio opens up a whole toolbox for you. You can extend components with custom JavaScript, set advanced behaviors, conditions, and even create your own reusable components kit. So you are super fast with the existing functionalities and still able to extend and scale to your needs. The growing cloud library. So you have a lot of accessible templates, drivers, examples ready for you to download, to learn, and then really to adapt them to your needs. It's a head start for everyone starting, but then also it saves experts a lot of time by not reinventing the wheel. It's everything from a complete add-in, more drag and drop components for AppStudio, rapid code examples, or example web apps. And do not forget, you can also share your treasures here to really keep the cloud library growing. Here's some example screens you can create in AppStudio. So we have the coffee demo on the top left. This screen simplifies the interaction, eliminating the need for any additional display next to the flex panel. Everything is right there where you need it. On the top middle, you see an interface for linear access, setup, calibration, supervision, manual movement, and more. A lot of our ecosystem partners provide those screens ready with the devices. And for advanced needs, here you can see a palletizing interface with multiple screens, a lot of configuration opportunities. Especially for the ones who use the ISC5 controller, you don't need to have any paid option on the robot to show those screens. A short hint, if you added some advanced JavaScript functionality in the past, it might have had some hiccups. This is gone now. Since RobotOS 7.19, we support a new browser on the Flex panel. You can switch it on under settings under the web app mode. And with RobotOS 7.20, now in September, the new browser will be the default one, and next year we will phase out the old one. If you have any feedback, wishes, and ideas, you can find the contact information directly in AppStudio. Now, I'm very happy to be joined by my colleague, Raul Castillo-Cruces, the Global Cobot Application Manager here at ABB. Raul works directly with customers on real applications every day, and he will guide you through the technical details and help you with a lot of tips and tricks. Thanks a lot for your great work, Raul. The stage is yours.
Yeah. So, Raul, please go ahead with your demonstration. I'd like to thank Katja for the pre-recorded message, and now we're getting into the nitty-gritty details of AppStudio. So I'm really looking forward to it. So the stage is all yours.
Thank you very much, Arvid. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the AppStudio webinar, using AppStudio to build smart robot interfaces. My name is Raul Castillo-Cruces. I am a Global Cobot Applications Engineer Manager, and I am part of ABB Gilching, sitting in Germany, part of the Cobot Distribution and Ecosystem product line. And I, as part of my role, I am working, as Katja mentioned, by developing some application for the different use cases, palletizing, machine tending, and so on. And one of the major tools that we are building ourselves also on top is AppStudio. So today I'm going to give you a presentation. I'm going to go quite deep into the topic. So I will say this webinar goes beyond a basic tutorial. If you are missing the basics, please visit the website of the AppStudio. I'm sorry. And you will get there good tutorials for introduction material for getting started with it. Sorry, let me drink a little water. So first of all, I'm going to give a quick introduction of the tool, and then I'm going to jump directly on the section of events and functions, in which the user can directly introduce their own business logic to extend the functionalities available for your web app. And as such, I'm going to talk a little bit about the interfaces that are available so you can connect with the robot in order to reach your goals. I'm going to finalize the presentation by giving a bit of overview of the framework that AppStudio is generating, the so-called T components, and at the end we are going to show how the user can as well use these kind of components to create their own custom components. At the end of the session, if we have enough time, I'm going to give you a more insight of how to connect with Wizard, our graphic programming interface for easy-to-use programming without needing to know rapid code. So we want to bring this world together, configuration and process flow, and I will show you a couple of tricks how to do that. I think this slide we can skip it. Katja gave already a very good introduction of what is AppStudio being placed in our ecosystem. And today I'm going to focus on the web designer. As Katja mentioned, there are different components in the tool. Today we are going to really concentrate on the drag and drop, translation, and so on functionalities. And for that, I'm going to start directly showing you the AppStudio. Here we are talking about this section, and in this section we have the UI designer, where you can really start injecting. Let me just put one new tab for giving you a couple of examples. Here you can start drag and dropping your elements. For example, here I am injecting a new tab. I am putting a couple of tabs in there, and inside of each, I can start creating my layout here with some buttons and indicators, selectors, and so on. As you can see, very intuitive way of building your views. And on the right side, you will find the interfaces to setting the parameters, the initial states of your elements, and so on. Additionally to that, you find also the behavior section, in which you get access to the event of each of the components. We see here always, but each component, the uncreated and unmounted event. These two events help you to introduce some logic, to inject some actions in specific moments of the life cycle of the application. Here, for example, uncreated is a very useful place to doing some setup. And one of my lovely places for doing uncreated is in the page one, which is the back container window. And here, for example, I am already introducing one function, which is the function that it's going to initialize my app. That brings me to the section of functions. Here, you can generate your own functions by just simply adding them. You have two possibilities. For example, I use my function, and you will directly generate a function that you can apply. Per default, it is asynchronous, but you can make it synchronous if you require, as you wish, or as it is needed. And here you can start write your logic, console log, and so on. So let me just keep it as it is for the moment. And additionally to that, you have also the opportunity to write some classes. I just simply put in my class, and here in the similar way, you can create some more complex structures, for example, a class containing different methods we are going to see in this example. One use case where this can start becoming beneficial for you to work with classes instead of functions. In the last section, we have the translation section. Here, you can create a set of key values, and for each language that you desired, the language you can set up when you start your new project. You can go always back and edit the project and include additional language. And here you can maintain all the translations that you are going to apply into your application. Once you have a translation, you can, for example, apply it when you see this icon, this is giving you the opportunity to apply some translation. I think I pick up not a very suitable translation for this button. Let me try to find load program. I think that could be easier. And here you can find, for example, a preview of how your application is going to look like wherever you start changing the language. This is generally speaking how the AppStudio interface looking like. Additionally, let me show you directly, for example, how you can add additional functionality to each of the elements. Each of them come normally with this functionality section in which you can include predefined functionality, for example, execute a procedure. And here you get directly access to the procedures available in your controller. Here I am connected to my virtual controller already. And here you can start saying, okay, I want to call this procedure. And you will see, as a result of that, this code is being generated here. And if I change the function, for example, now I say go to position, you can select your position where you are willing to go, and then you will find the corresponding adapted interface. Here you will find some code already available for you to do wherever you need. And here, for example, the go to position, and here you can anytime change to your needs. So it is not fixed, it is kind of a template, and then you can adapt it to your needs. So that is generally speaking the way it works. And now I'm going to go to our demo application in order to show you more specific examples how to work with functions. You already download the Pack and Go delivered for this webinar. There you will find inside the virtual controller, you will find in the home directory the AppStudio folder. And there you will find two AppStudio projects. One is the complete project already ready to run, and other is for you to do some exercise the project, but with a lot of the implementation so that you can start practicing from that point. Or, of course, you can start from scratch and do it all by your own. That would be the ultimate experience. So our application today is a machine tending application example. Here, if we open our Flex pendant, we can find already the application already loaded into the system. For you, important today is going to be the Wizard app, in which we can get access to our Wizard program. This is the graphic representation of our main program. And here, for example, we have also some interfacing, which I can show you already, which is directly connected to the web app. And here, as you can see, I can also, for example, open Wizard. I can also jump back. And here, depending on which topic I am present, I'm going to different section of the application. Here, I'm going to the machine. In the other section, I was jumping to the tray. I will show you at the end of this session how I am doing this. But first things first, here with the machine tending application, this is a simple demo example. You can see there are also already a couple of functionalities available, for example, starting and stopping the process, resetting point, and some section for program handling, the open wizard I already showed you. Additionally to that, we have some interface for manual operation, for example. Here, if I want to yoke my robot to the home position or wait position, and here as an example also shown configuration interface with different sections. In these examples, we are focusing on motion. Here, I'm going to show you how to play around here. For example, to say, okay, I want to set off my corner 2 of my tray. Then I can go there, I can modify it. After that, I'm changing to the corner 1. I can do the same. And as you can see, here is a dynamical behavior of the web app. which I'm going to introduce you as well. As last part here, the machine interface. This is an interactive view in which you can really select your position that you want to target, and then you can say, okay, I want to go there, I want to reteach the position, and so on. So now let's have an insight how all this is being implemented. I'm going to jump back to our example application. Let me remove this last one and go back to the implementation. And you will see here, for example, let me also delete these two ones. I already started by introducing you the init app. Let me go to the events interface. You will see here always you have all the opportunity to select your user functions, which are all available here, and you can directly, for example, if we go back to the page here, if I delete it, what I did originally, you simply select the init app, and that's it. It is implementing already the code that I required, and with that, I'm going to implement my interface. Let me go back to the presentation to get some clear path, and I don't get lost in all my explanation. Here, I already showed you the predefined functionalities, and now we are jumping into the user functions. We started with the init app, and we will dive a little deeper, and we will see there are a couple of things that you can make use to make your life easier. For example, applying the instance global variable, which may allow you to get access to the different parts of your web application, as well as using this property, which will help you to directly target the element in which you are working on. Once you deploy the application, let me just do it to show you. Once you deploy the application, you can open this application as well in a browser environment. There are a couple of limitations there. For example, the motion is not be possible to be commanded from external browser, but in generally speaking, it behaves exactly the same. And here, for example, we can see we can have the opportunity to do some debugging and so on. So I recommend you also to work with this when you are developing. Here, for example, I can show you the so-called instance global variable. When you use it, you will see internally, you will find all the elements that are included in your web application. In this way, it is very handy for you to say, for example, let's go to the init app. And in the init app, you can already see how I apply these instances to make some specific actions. Here, for example, I am creating a callback function, which I am subscribing to the monitor of the execution state. So anytime the state is changing from running to stop and so on, this callback is going to be executed. And as you can already see here, for that purpose, I am using the API. I will go into more details on that. Just for you, remember this API is one of the libraries or interfaces that you will be able to use to interact with the system. Here, another thing that I would like to explain you is, for example, I showed you already how to work with translation at the UI designer level, but inside your code, you can make use of translation as well. Therefore, you can use the component 8t method, which is the one handling the translations. I am putting this in a global variable, the window t, so I can have access to this around my program. Here, for example, if I go to the program handler, you will be able to identify the t And here I'm just putting the key value. And with this, in this console log, I will have also access to the multi-language support. So you can apply multi-language support also inside the code, not only via the interface. Additionally to that, I would like to start showing you, for example, if we go here to other section of our application, we will see, okay, that I already showed you. We will see here, for example, I create a go-to button in the drag and drop fashion. I just did some change and that's it. This button is ready to go. But sometimes you need a little more of customization, or you want to create your own paradigms. For that cases, you can start doing your own stuff. Here, for example, if I go and change to English, if I go to our application and I change to the tray, you will start finding that these move tools are a little bit different than the one I just previously showed you. Here, I am using an own function, and in the function I am giving my own parameters, and you can start seeing the benefits of the instance. I can here, for example, target my selector 89, which is about to be the here selector 88, here selector 89. In the next session, in the next version of AppStudio, you will be able as well to customize these names as far as I understand. And you can see here how I am making use of this. I am here creating our own string, which help me to somehow programmatically get to the variable that I really want to target. Here, inside the move to target or the modify target, in both I'm using the same strategy. I am further taking into account other instance. I am checking into my tab, and depending in which tab I am adding some prefix to my name. And with this, I am able to reach a specific target for doing my jogging. And if I show you the rapid code, you will better understand what I mean. Here, for example, this is the set of targets that I'm trying to address in order to do my teaching and so on. And you can see here I'm following a syntax standard in which I'm saying, okay, for the trays, I have the tray 2 or tray 1, my corners 1, 2, 3, and so on. For other prop targets, like for the machine, I have only the P weight, P clamp, and so on. And by helping me with these kind of functions, I am reaching this in a very easy way. If I go to the machine, for example, here you will see in the move tool, it's a little bit different. Here I am taking just the text coming from the text 126, which is this. And here I am having the actual target that I want to reach. And from other corner of my application here with this, at the moment, radio buttons, I am able to modify this value. As you can see, the components can be interconnected between each other by using the instance global variable. Another very useful property is the this property. The this property represents the element in which you are handling, you are getting access to the events, for example. And to show you an example, let me go to the production window. And if we go here, you will find, for example, user function onClick, the start stop. And then I am giving the this. The this is really, I am giving this button further to the function. And with that, when I go to the function, you will see, okay, here as an argument, I'm calling it self because the word this is reserved. I cannot use it as such, but here I am giving further as self. And here I can start analyze, okay, if the text of my button is start, I'm going to start the execution. Otherwise, if it is the stop, I will do the stop execution. And here I can start modifying from starting to stop, from stop to start, and so on. I think you get the point. With this feature, you're able to really influence the elements in which you are working on in a very easy way. So here I have onCreate selector tool, for example. This is another example for that. And therefore, let's go to other section of the application. And I think we have that in the configuration section, in the trace. Here, this is onCreate select tool. Yeah, this will be this one. Here I am using it. I have my emoji, which I like it also a lot. And actually, this is not the one that I'm using. It's uncreated, sorry. Here, this is the one. Here I am initializing the selector. And therefore, I create this function and I give in the selector folder. And with that, when I go into the function, you will see I am getting access to the system. I am searching for specific variables following some pattern. And with that, I am gathering the variables that I want to inject to my selector. And here, with the option items, I am putting into the self by using the method setProps. This method you should remember. Whenever you want to change a prop of any of your T components, which are all the elements available inside AppStudio, you can use this property to pass inside an object the prop that you require. We will talk a little bit later about it, but at the moment it's important for you to see how the instance is being applied to help yourself in the binding the things together. Additionally to that, sometimes it can become very overwhelming if you start having hundreds of functions here listed. And for that, I would recommend to use other strategies. For example, you start using some classes. And here, let me put this so that you can get the feeling. What is inside this class? I have a set of methods that are for this one purpose, proper handler. I am creating a handler here for dealing with my programs. You can load the program, set program, and so on, get the program name. And I am packing all together for giving a structure to my application. In this way, I can really find my implementations and so on. And the way I am applying the program handler is if I come back to my initialization of the application, you will see that I am creating a global variable out of it. And if we go to our running application, you will see the program handler is there available. So you can use it and use all the methods coming with it. And that is what we are doing at the end in our program section here. You will see, for example, here in load program, I am using the program handler to load my program and so on. So there, I don't need to do any other call user functions. You don't need as such because actually you are creating a new instance. Here, the same case. You are creating a new instance, having this functionality, and then you can directly call the instance instead. Yeah. So that is very handy, very useful for some cases. I strongly recommend you to make use of this kind of paradigms when you consider beneficial for you. So let me go back to my presentation. So once again, I can find my way through here. That is what I was just explaining, how to work for creating handlers, APIs, or wherever you need in a more structured way. And now I would like to start talking about what you have as resources for implementing your own business logic. Inside your functions, you can apply all what JavaScript is offering to you, but at the end, you want to interact with the controller. And what ABB is providing to you is on the first level that I want to explain is the so-called AppStudio API. You already saw the API keyword all over the whole application, and I'm using that for different purpose, and that is your entry point. And inside the API, we have the business logic. Let me go. You can get access to documentation of the API, for example. Wherever you write some code here, you have already a link to open the documentation. And here you will find some examples, all the T components that are available inside AppStudio. But I think the most interesting section for you will be the API section, in which you will find all the domains available inside the API. And you will see that you have a lot of tools here. For example, one very useful is for monitor variables. It's a way, in a way, you can subscribe to the variable. You can put some callback function to react to this variable anytime the variable is changing from the rapid side. So this one is very useful. You have the similar for working with signals as well. We already saw here in the API Rapid, where we have some business logic, we saw already the monitor execution state, which is very helpful, also kind of subscription to the execution state. And I as well recommend you other kind of methods for monitor the operation mode or monitor the controller state. In this way, you can create for your application a way to react to the states of the controller itself. But that is not all. You have here really a bunch of functionalities. I recommend you to go through these and get an overview of what all is available. Get variable value here, for example. You don't need to subscribe. You can simply fetch a value directly with this. You can do loading of modules and so on. Additionally, in the API, we have also a set of robot web services, which is the way to communicate with the robot. As you can see here, we have on the one side business logic. This is really some logic on top of the access to the controller. And this business logic is eventually using the robot web services. I will show you as well, or I'm going to comment it. I'm not really going to show too much about it, but the API internally is using the so-called Omnicore SDK. And the Omnicore SDK, has been used already in the past for creating web applications that talk to the controller. This is a library of robot web services together with some other graphic elements. And AppStudio is taking this as a fundament and it is building on top of it. So you will find inside any web application generated with the AppStudio, you will find internally the SDK. Therefore, I recommend you to go to the SDK, download the SDK, and take a look into the documentation. You will find there also very useful information. And mainly what I'm talking about is you will find the explanation of everything what is behind the robot web service RWS global variable, which is going to provide you additional functionalities with which you can make use to handle with the controller, file system controller, and so on. Some of these functionalities are already available in the upper level the AppStudio. If I go here, you will find similar interfaces, and in the AppStudio you will find additionally maybe some features that are not available in the SDK. For example, there are some robot web services for motion, and I think in the meantime they are also coming into the SDK. But here you will find already a group of functions already ready to go for this. And a similar way, you will find additional, well, we can see here in these different domains, here are some robot web services implemented, for example, for deleting a config instance which you cannot do otherwise. And you can see here the API is offering you also some of these other kind of opportunities. And on top of that, the business logic, as I was mentioned, to do other kind of actions. Here in our example application, you will see here I am using some of them. Here, the accessing the robot service for motion system, the API rapid, and you will find in different sections here the API motion, go to position, how I am making use of this API to really reaching my targets. And one last thing I want to mention, it is going very deep into the topic, and I hope you don't need it. Yeah, but if you need it, I hope you remember this session and you say there was something there. The SDK is a library of robot web services, but the robot web service itself is something already defined and working at the lowest level. And you will see if I open, give me just a second. Here, I have it here. You will find in the documentation a set of robot web services, which, let me go here. RoboWare, now this is not so interesting for you. More, let's go to Rapid, for example. You will find a set of accesses that will allow you to do something, to command the controller to do something specific. And you will see this is a bunch of stuff, more than what the SDK is offering, more what the AppStudio is also including. And if you come to the situation that you need it, you can also implement that. And here is an example in the program handler. I am doing that because for handling the programs, there are some robot web services, but they are not included in SDK, not included in the API. So I am implementing this here by myself, by helping myself with the SDK, but then writing my own URL for accessing the robot web services and so on. Let's stop there. Let's go no more into details. Just remember, even you can get access to the controller at this level. And here are a couple of examples. In case you need it, go back to your pack and go and take a look how this example is being done. So with this, I would like to finalize by showing you the last section, which is, let me go to the configuration. And here in the section of the machine, you will see this interface. Here, I am putting some radio button as a placeholder, but at the end, what I'm doing here, I am injecting here my own component, which, as you see here in the running application, it looks different and it's having some specific purpose. So I want to explain you how I did it. And for that, I am using the concept of the T components. Here, that brings me to my next slide. The T component is the way all the elements are constructed inside AppStudio. And you will find it's a class which has some set of methods for a specific purpose, for defining the properties, defining the HTML section, how is the structure, or how it's going to look like, together, of course, with the CSS style, which is also one section of the component. Then we have some section for initialization, some section for rendering, and so on. I will not go too much into details. This takes already one session by its own, but I just want to show you the opportunities that you have also for defining your own T components, as I am doing here. By just extending these T components, component 8, you are making out of this class a T component. And it takes the benefits of the lifecycle that the component A is offering. And with that, you can define your props, and then you can make use for doing some initialization. Here, for example, I am registering some callbacks. And here, for example, in the onRender section, I am doing some manipulation of my markup. Here, the markup definition, the HTML section. I'm just simply putting a container where I am injecting some additional devices with some specific properties. This here is classical web development tools, JavaScript, and so on. And as you can see here, by following this kind of paradigm, you will be able to really customize and create your own components if you wish, if you require it, and you will see you can have additional getters and setters, methods, and so on to reach your target. The opportunities are without any barrier more than your creativity, and with that you can do things like what I'm doing here. For example, let me just finalize by showing you how I am consuming this check circle. I have my override radio, which is what I am applying to all these small radius. I just want them to have the place where I want to put my other component. And I just giving it, I'm using the this here as well with the slogan that I want to put into the other component. And then for doing the override, here this is a callback that the circle checkbox will apply. But before that, let me show you the implementation of this one. I'm taking the user function checkbox, instantiating as a new instance. This is my new T component. I am explicitly calling the render because I need to do that because it is not in the chain of actions of the web app. So I explicitly call it, and then I inject it into the instance. Instead of the radio, I am looking for the radio and destroying the radio, and instead of that, I am injecting my circle checkbox. In this way, my circle checkbox will be available for usage in other sections of the application. And with this, I am reaching this effect of really creating my own custom look and feel, my own custom functionality behind the scenes. So that is, and let me give you a very quick last introduction to the connection between Wizard and the web app. This is a very useful thing to combine these two worlds to create a complete user experience for your user. I already showed you how it works. Now I'm just going to show you how I implement it. On the one direction is very straightforward. If we go to the main application, you will find here in the behavior, let me just go back, sorry. Here you have already the functionality as part of the AppStudio. You need to select it, put your target, and that's it. You can also pass a method. Wizard is not doing with that at the moment. But in the other direction, we are going to do something with that. And for that, I am creating this connect wizard. And there is inside the SDK, the app interaction domain, which is offering this feature to react to a request for opening the application. And there you will get some information. And this information on the side of the web app, you put it by using the skill creator, which is the tool that one used to create these blocks. And important is going to settings of each block, and here you can enable it, put the target, put the message, and with that, this button is going to do that. So in this way, the button is triggering the web app, and here I am getting the info, and with that, I can go exactly to where I want to go. So this is just an example. You can do more things like this. You can exchange more information from Wizard. You can get the parameters that have been applied and the optional parameters as well, the rapid procedure that is being used, and so on. And with this, you can really do very cool stuff and bind the things together and really improve the user experience. With that, I would like to conclude my explanation and now jump to the Q&A session. So we still have like 8 minutes. So I hope we can answer all your questions.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Raul, for that brilliant demonstration. We had a few questions come in, so we will start with a few and then see how many we can get to. We might not be able to do all of the questions that have come in. So if that's the case, we will reach out to you with a written answer somehow because we have logging all of the questions. But let's jump straight into it. So the first question here is quite a long one. Can I load a module into a rapid memory stick via USB using AppStudio? The rapid memory on Robot Banana is very low, 100 megabytes. We're using RoboDK, so we're experiencing memory issues. Is it possible to overcome this problem by creating an application with AppStudio and then loading and unloading?
I am not aware of the possibility of accessing other file system than the one that is targeted at the home directory of the controller. So without knowing the details, I can't ask internally if there are solutions for that. But at the moment, I would say with the infrastructure that AppStudio is offering, you could only access the home directory and everything behind it.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Then there's a question here. The button, can you bind a call routine instead of a PP to routine?
A call routine instead of what?
Of PP to routine.
Well, we can bind what we call the procedures, which is basically what is happening. It is sending the pointer to the routine and executing it. And that we are doing, for example, here with the feature execute procedure. So that will do that. I don't get exactly the point. What will be the difference? A callback, it will be here. A callback inside the web app. This procedure is in Rapid World, and the callback here will be inside the web app. I can here bind the execution to any user function as a reaction of the button. So I hope I understood correctly the question.
Yes, thank you. Next question from Ken. How can I connect to a WebSocket and fetch and display data in AppStudio?
You can use, well, I'm not sure exactly how this could be done here directly. Inside the API and all the infrastructure behind, there is some HTTP communication, and I can imagine you could create some WebSocket communication as well, and that will require a little more fancy integration, eventually adding some external code for making it easier, but that is going beyond the scope of this session. But I can tell you it could be somehow possible.
And then there was a follow-up question as well, if you could possibly display a camera live view from an IP address or a USB port. And
There is a way to redirect the view to external source. So there is the easiest way, but it's not the only way. If you create a new project, you can already start by creating a server project. Let me go back, open new project with a web server. That is the easiest way to understand how it works. And this will create a web app that is directly redirecting to another IP address. And you can use this directly, or if you need some more customized environment, you can take this as an example and look how it is working. But basically speaking, yes, if it's reachable, you can redirect to it.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. And another question here. Difference exec proc. It stays in proc, does not go back to the original pointer.
At the end, you can do it. Let me put it like this. You can use a more granular selection of which calls are you applying, and you could use the robot web services to do that. There are robot web services to jump to a procedure, to execute the procedure, and so on. And there are also properties inside the SDK, if I remember correct, to define if the pointer is jumping back to the previous one or if the pointer should stay where it is. So It is nothing that is out of the box available here with drag and drop, but it is something that can be done by using the SDK. I think already you could do that by using the SDK.
Mm-hmm. Perfect, thank you. Is there something corresponding to ScreenMaker's onload, or do you need functions for this?
This is one topic always popping up from our users of the RS5 world. Yeah, they are very used to Screen Creator. There are a couple of functionalities that are not one-to-one portable to this AppStudio way of doing things, because we are talking about a different technology. So here we are sticking to web development infrastructure and possibilities. And with that, you can create all the effects that you require. Our R&D team is already aware of this missing connectivity from the past world with what we are currently offering, and they are working hard to provide these functionalities in the AppStudio JavaScript fashion way. So in the future, I hope this gap goes smaller and smaller to the point that you are not missing anything. But R&D is working on that.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. We had a few questions here also relating to these webinar sessions that we've held. And of course, we are recording them. So we will provide a link to the recording to everyone that has signed up to these webinar sessions. In your email, you will get a link to a recording of either this session or the previous session that we held this morning. It's the same content. So you will get a copy of that for sure. I think we do have time for one last question here, and that one is variables arrays, how to get it.
Variables. The next version of AppStudio will support more complex data structures, records, and so on. Here, with if we are talking about arrays, you subscribe to the variable and you will get the array. And then it is on the web app site for you to go through the array and get the entry that you require. But it is in the very same fashion as any other variable. One way to go will be by subscribing, as I show you here. And here in the callback, for example, you will get the whole information that the array is delivering. Or if it is not working for you, because sometimes the format is not with arrays, but for example with record variables, you will see here you are getting the values, but you are not getting the keys. Yeah. But if you go to the Rapid and you subscribe to the variable in this fashion with this task, and there is also this class task, and with that you can subscribe to variables and so on. And here you will be able to get the value of the record as an object, which is going to have the key value elements. So actually the object is a little more complex than the array. To the array, you will get it also as well. With this kind of subscription, you will get the array as it is with each entry as you are expecting it. And then you can work on that in the web app site.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you, Raul. I see we are coming up here on our a lot of time. We're just about to end this webinar. We do have a hard stop here. Before we close it, I would just like to hand it back to you, Raul, for give some final comments or perhaps some key takeaways from this session before we leave. So please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I think the biggest takeaway that I would like to really have from this session is that AppStudio is as such a very powerful tool. So it is not really limiting. Of course, the offerings of the tool is not yet complete to all use cases and all requirements that may be available in the real scenarios. So one will require some things that are not yet here drag and droppable. But as you can see, if it doesn't exist yet, you can create it. Of course, that requires some level of expertise in knowing a little bit how to program with JavaScript and so on, but it is doable, and that is the important thing. It is scalable. AppStudio is offering the opportunity for scalability, for reusability, and so on. And that makes the tool very powerful. And as such, there is no limit. The limit is your creativity, as I just mentioned. And that will be my takeaway from here. Please play with it and create as much as you can. And of course, you can share it via AppStudio Cloud.